Welcome to the Rimworld mod rundown. We'll be taking a quick look at what you can expect to see from Vanilla Races Expanded, Saurid. For starters, you'll need to own the Biotech DLC to make use of Vanilla Races Expanded content, as well as the Workshop content, Vanilla Expanded Framework, and Harmony. Now, this was a weird one for me to record. I booted up Rimworld, totally vanilla, and went to the colonist selection screen to have a look at what this race was before Expanded changed it. Imagine my surprise when I found out that Saurids were never in base game Biotech. I've used the lizard folk for that long and they fit in so perfectly I had genuinely forgotten they didn't actually come with the official DLC. As to why? Well, Saurids are just a really simple xenotype. They feel very unchanged. Base game, totally normal. The mod comes with the Saurid xenotype and their unique genes, a single new item, a new starting scenario, and adds a faction choice in for your world generation too. The new item is Human Egg, which doesn't necessarily mean there's a baseliner inside of it. Saurids count as humans too. It's more of a humanoid egg. These eggs give pawns a different approach to carrying a child from conception to birth. The temperature needs to be carefully regulated so as not to ruin the gestation, and while human eggs will not spoil from being outside, they will slowly deteriorate when outside of 4 solid walls or if left unroofed. A quick word of warning. By default, the lavish diet setting that colonists start with allows these to be eaten. Parents will not be happy when you told them that their child was big enough to make a second helping of scrambled egg on toast. This new item plays perfectly into the new starting scenario, which is a little less cruel than naked brutality, but still pretty rough. You're given standard crash-landed tech, a single Saurid colonist, some synthread clothes on your back, and 4 eggs to look after. No weapons, no food, no materials, no meds. If you land in a sub-zero biome to start this run, chances are the eggs are all going to be DOA. Whoops! That being said, this is a fun little challenge, especially when all of the eggs hatch at once and you've got a bunch of screaming babies to look after. By all means game, please, send me more raids. Burn this base down. End my suffering. As I mentioned, you're given a potential faction to add to, the Rough Saurid Union. As with any rough faction, they'll start off being dicks, but with enough gifts or returned raiders, they might come around to being a bit more civil with you. By default, they live up to their name. The faction is around 97% Saurid, with the remaining percents being taken up by Imps, Hussar, and Neanderthal. So, the genes. I'd like to say I saved the best to last, but remember how I said these guys feel really base game? That's because they're almost entirely cosmetic genes. Weird flappy head thing, weirder flappy ears, a tail, dinosaur voice. That's all the new stuff that's purely for cosmetics, and some of the other bits like scale, skin and claws actually do have a purpose. The lizard skin grants a natural 20% bonus to all sharp armor, which isn't game breaking, but that early on it can make a pretty sizable difference against small man hunting creatures. No more death via fluffy rabbit. The claws are a really nice touch, whilst also making Saurids a bit of a nightmare in social fights. They slightly reduce manipulation for the bonus of dealing sharp damage with unarmed attacks instead of blunt. This allows you to rip and tear early raiders without even needing a weapon. Just hide around a corner, pop out and carve a hollow inside their torso. Raiders seem more likely to go down, quote unquote, peacefully, with a stack of bleeds on them rather than a handful of bruises, in the early game at least when the death on down percentage isn't quite so highly stacked against you. They get a few bits from Biotech thrown in too. Some toxic resistance, a little hint of aggression, and a strong stomach, which is really useful with the Saurid Mother start as she can hunt small animals and eat the meat raw without any concern about spending an entire day with food poisoning. It gives you a lot of time to get things done. Oviparous is what allows Saurid to lay eggs. Rather than carrying a baby to term, dealing with mood swings, sickness, and stat penalties, now you have to keep an eye on an item and make sure that it stays between 0 to 50 degrees C or 32 to 122 freedom units. Pheromones is a nice easy boost to relationships amongst the same xenotypes, providing a plus 20 buff to the socials. Whilst a custom race using pheromones won't get the buff towards Saurid, it will work between 2 members of a custom race, so it's quite specific what it allows the buff to work with. Having said that, it's basically free to throw on anyway, it has 0 impact on metabolism. Cold-blooded is what you really want this mod for. a massive +6 to metabolic efficiency. Think of all the possible buffs you could afford with that. The downside is it dramatically ramps up the danger of hypothermia and heatstroke, with faster accumulation and more deadly stages of progress. Once you've got a shelter made and somewhere warm to sleep, you'll barely notice this downside, but if you need to travel over a frozen tundra with a handful of Saurid, expect frequent stops to warm their frosty feet and hear talk about how much better it is in the summer. You know, the really sweaty, uncomfortable season with all the sunburn and clammy, muggy air. Ugh, so much better. And that is genuinely it. Again, I am baffled that this race wasn't base game. It's just so simple, so easy, and it fits with any run. Just a really well balanced, fun addition to your colony. Thanks for watching, folks. If you have any mods you'd like to see a full breakdown of, or any suggestions of mods you'd like to see covered, feel free to leave them in the comments. I might get around to them. I'll be back again soon with another Rimworld mod rundown. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Take care.